Shalom and welcome to another episode of the Two Jews, 10 Opinions podcast. I'm Ailey Shanes.
And I'm Levi Diamato. Ailey, how was your Thanksgiving? How long did it take for the name Benjamin Netanyahu to come up at your Thanksgiving dinner?
I think 3 to 20 minutes.
Okay, got
What about you?
A lot longer than usual, actually. It was kind of like a nice little family break. Because, I've always talked with my mom about politics, everything going on. But I guess we had already been talking about it throughout the week, so we didn't really cover it at Thanksgiving. But yeah, it's been a while since we've had a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, guys, how was your Thanksgiving? Tell us your thoughts about your Thanksgiving. We'll read it, and we'll let us know what you think. I have a question for you, Levi.
Yeah.
What is Thanksgiving like for your family? Because in a lot of Jewish circles, Thanksgiving's not really a big thing. What's it like for your family?
Like, personally, I love Thanksgiving. I get really into it. I just treat it like a nice family get together. It's pretty much the only non-Jewish holiday that I really celebrate.
Yeah.
But we usually don't cook. So I know, usually,
what do you cook?
like catering.
Catering, okay.
So this
year,
year,
cater the turkey?
Well, so this year I said to my dad, listen, we gotta cook.
Yeah.
So we cooked, and we made a lot. Nothing crazy, just the normal stuff.
Yeah.
But
my family always kind of, in my school, like we had half days for Thanksgiving, like half days off, because it's not like a Jewish holiday, it's like a national holiday, so it's like whatever. But my family always celebrated it. My dad's like a really good cook. He's worked at restaurants and stuff before, so like he always goes all out for Thanksgiving. We don't really do Black Friday anymore. It's not really our thing.
Nowhere near Black Friday. I'm going nowhere near it.
Well, we used to go crazy for Black Friday. Every year we used to do Black Friday, but now it's like the deals aren't even that great anymore.
Listen, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings and it was in a mall on Friday. Like, I didn't realize it was Black Friday. It was a zoo. Like, it was in the evening too, and I was like, I don't want anywhere near this.
Like, the online deals are so much better. They had
Cyber Monday.
Yeah, Cyber Monday, but also the Black Friday deals came out like weeks earlier now. Like, it's just the spirit of the Black Friday holiday is not existent anymore, and I'm very it really hurts me a lot that's the case. I also have another question for you.
Yes.
Do you have mac and cheese?
No.
No. Yeah, so
it's too much like carbs and stuff.
No, but that's not it for me.
Okay.
I didn't know mac and cheese on Thanksgiving was a thing because my family keeps kosher, right? You can't have dairy and meat together, so we don't have mac and cheese. We have turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, whatever pumpkin thingy majiggy, cranberry sauce. I didn't know mac and cheese was a thing on Thanksgiving until like I came into college.
Yeah. I didn't know until I've seen it on social media, like when it's like choose your Thanksgiving meal, like with like the dollars, like,
yeah.
And I'm like, why is mac and cheese $5? It's making no sense.
And like
people love it.
I mean, mac and cheese is amazing, but
it's good. I love mac and cheese, but not for Thanksgiving, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had that experience before, but you tell us, guys who are listening, guys and girls out there, tell us what you think about mac and cheese on Thanksgiving. For us, it's a no, but I could definitely see it.
Yes. Now, hard turn from the mac and cheese on Thanksgiving to the war in Israel. Just to recap, because it's so hard for us because we're trying to record the podcast every week, but it's hard to keep up. So it's been, I guess, 2 weeks since we recorded the last podcast.
Yeah, we skipped last week again because of Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, so what we saw since in the, around Thanksgiving break, I believe it started maybe a day after Thanksgiving or a day before.
I think the day after it was a Friday.
Hostage release deal with Hamas, and it varied every day, and it was 10 hostages.
Yeah, it was
10 hostages every day. They were delivered at like nighttime, exchanged to the Red Cross, and in exchange it was like a 3-to-1 ratio of prisoners released from Israeli prisons.
And let's make sure we understand that it's not hostage. It's not Israel's releasing their hostages. It's Israel is releasing convicted terrorists and Hamas members. So it's a very different thing.
The New York Times found it hard to say that.
The New York Times finds it hard to say a lot of things.
Right. It's always like I always see videos like headlines from the New York Times, and it's like, for instance, with the hospital, the headquarters under the hospital, the article is like, one day the IDF released footage of the hostages being dragged into the hospital, into the main from October 7th, and the same day the New York Times wrote an article. You guys can look this up unless they changed it by now, but the article published the same evening makes no mention of that video, but it says the IDF released a video of what it claims to be a tunnel, seeking to bolster its claims that this is being used as a base. And it's like, I mean, first of all, they ignore the biggest piece of the evidence, which was the video of people being dragged in.
Yeah.
And then the apologists go on social media and they go, oh, well, those hostages were injured. They were bringing them to the hospital. They drove them past 5 other hospitals to get to that hospital.
Yeah.
So you tell me why they went to that hospital.
I mean, like, yeah, okay, they were injured, and yeah, they did. Like, you saw the video of the girl who, I think her leg was broken. I mean, sorry, not her leg, her arm.
Mia Schrem,
yeah. She had surgery, but it was a veterinarian who gave her that arm surgery. I mean, how inhumane is that? It's freaking ridiculous, and people are like CNN and all these other places, they're like doing like these full-on like feature stories on the prisoners that were released from Israeli jails and making them seem like they're so innocent or whatever. And yeah, they're teenagers or whatever, but they're literally convicted terrorists. I mean, come on here. This is just lunacy.
Yeah, it's there was Israeli government spokesman Elan Levy.
Yeah, I know what you're going to get
in the
into.
video where the woman asks him, well, do you think that the proportion of prisoners is showing that Israel doesn't care about Palestinians because they don't value them as... And it's the guy raises his eyebrows
just
and he's like,
out of his
listen,
socket,
he's like, we would absolutely do a 240 to 240 deal. And so a lot of hostages were released, and then basically the deal was...
And not even that, Hamas wanted even more. Hamas was pushing for even more of a ratio of a ratio.
Of course. And they violated the agreements a lot. The Red Cross was supposed to be able to visit all the hostages.
They did not.
It didn't happen. And the deal, it was a 5-day or 4-day deal. I don't remember. And every day after that, they could extend the ceasefire by...
Yeah. I think the limit was 10 days.
Okay, yeah.
But still, I mean...
Well, 1 day before it, or 1 hour before it was supposed to end, and then there could be a new day restart, they go, oh, let's just jump the ship on that and just launch the rockets. So they started launching...
They even launched rockets 15 minutes after the treaty even started. I mean... Come on. And the world is still going ceasefire now. Right. We saw what happened with the ceasefire. It did not work.
Now, it's like everyone wants a ceasefire.
Yeah.
In the sense that, but it's just, this is an unbearable situation, you know? There's no win to be found, you know? I mean,
no.
These hostages are just still there, and it's like you have to do everything you can do to get them out. And I was glad about this hostage deal. There was a lot of discussion about it. A lot of people. I mean, so Yahya Sinwar, who is the leader of Hamas in Gaza, he was released in a hostage deal, or in a prisoner deal. So an Israeli soldier, Gilad Shalit, was captured in 2014, I want to say.
Okay.
Could have been 2011. And he was captured into the Gaza Strip, and he was traded for 1,000 prisoners. These were the worst of prisoners. Sinwar was one of them. And so a lot of the feeling in Israel is like, we're doing the same thing. You know, we're releasing all these prisoners again. And I understand that feeling. But for me, I
agree. I think the most important thing right now is to get those hostages out. And yeah, if that's going to mean that we get some, we have to release prisoners, so be it. If they do anything again, just bring them back in jail and don't release them until... It's tough because, like, I was listening to what, the son of the founder of Hamas, was saying that that's Hamas's tactic is they take bodies, even corpses, and they use them as bargaining chips. They take bodies and bargaining chips. That's why they took hostages as bargaining chips, and it's so animalistic. Look at these guys are just barbarians. They're barbarians, and they need to be deleted off the face of this earth. And that these topics are we discussed them with our special guest in today's episode. Guys, we really and Levi really set this up, and so I want to thank Levi, guys. Give Levi a round of applause. Our special guest today is actor, comedian, and big social media personality, especially for the past couple of years, fighting anti-Semitism, fighting Israel bigotry, Michael Rapaport, and we're both very, very big fans of him. So yeah, we would love to now turn it over to our interview with Michael Rapaport. We'd like to officially welcome to the show actor, comedian, appearing in over 100 films and TV shows. He's a huge social media personality and host of the I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, awesome. I just want to get, a little bit of background on you and your, I guess, your Jewish identity. So with everything going on right now, I wanted to kind of ask what things, memories, experiences do you kind of draw on and in kind of identifying and affirming your Jewish identity, and what that kind of means to you right now?
Well, I grew up in New York City, not in a religious background at all, to be honest with you, but culturally and what I identify and what I identified as all my life is Jewish. I don't know what the word is. It wasn't much discussion or sort of emphasis on being Jewish. It just was and is what I've always identified as. My mother and father weren't practicing. Both New York, Jewish people in the very sort of stereotypical traditional way you think of New York Jews. They are that. And the Upper East Side of Manhattan, which is a very, very sort of prototypical New York City Jewish environment, that you see in movies and TV shows. It's just always what I led with, like in New York, people, Black, Puerto Rican, Italian, Irish, I'm Jewish. But there was always a lot of pride in that and sort of matter of factness in that. I didn't grow up with any anti-Semitism in New York City. Me personally, I didn't grow up with any dealing with any of that. And, as I've gotten older, I've looked at, understood, appreciated, more of what it means to be Jewish. And then cut to, the last, I'd say 6, 7 years, it's really been something that I've taken more time to understand what it means to be Jewish, what it means to be Jewish to me, what it means to, just sort of, understanding and appreciating and also having more pride and consciousness of what it means to be Jewish. Also, having kids, you start to think about that more. And my life as a Jewish person hasn't been, unusual or sort of unique in any way, shape, or form. I would say in terms of social media and the persona that you guys see and that people, know of me outside of being an actor, this sort of launching point for me publicly discussing my Judaism. Although, I've always in regards to being an actor, I'll just say this, in regard to being an actor, I've always wanted to break the stereotypes of the great Jewish stereotypes. And I say stereotypes, it could be negative. The prototypical Jewish stereotypes are Woody Allen, Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen, characters on Seinfeld, Larry David. And I love all those characters and I love all those personas because that is who we are, especially New York, East Coast, sort of, European, Jews. I love those personas and I love those characters so much. But for me, I've always wanted to sort of break those stereotypes in the characters that I play and sort of how I represent myself as an actor, because that's not who I necessarily am. Although it also is who I am. I just never wanted to sort of fall into those tropes, whatever the that means. And then, so, as an actor, I've always been aware of that and conscious of that. And because of the fact that I have blonde hair and a lot of Jewish people don't, when you think of Jews in cinema, you think of dark, small, sort of meeker, characters that we get to play, and that's not the characters that I play, because of the way I look, because of my height, because of who I am as a person. It's just part of that. And then as far as social media, I've had my podcast for I think 8 years, 9 years, maybe it's 10 years, and I've talked about it a lot. But the sort of launching point, where it became something that I was speaking out about publicly, because social media brings you all sorts of different attention, and people get to know you in a different way, because I've always been who I am. But when you have social media, the way I do it, I just kind of like, it's like a video diary. When the Charlottesville situation happened in whatever year that was, with these tiki torches and the Jews will not replace us, I had made a very, very emphatic viral rant that was probably, might have been just 60 seconds long.
Last night in Charlottesville, Virginia, a bunch of white nationalists carrying tiki torches that they got from Home Depot, wearing skinny jeans, drinking coffee, came out for a protest saying, "White lives matter, white lives matter." You know your life ain't if you're a college student on a Friday night during the summertime. You ain't getting no and you decide to come out for a protest carrying tiki torches, talking little coffee cup carrying white nationalists. You ain't if you was really trying to get it popping, you would have taken your little Ed Sheeran protest right over there to Virginia Beach or Newport News, and you would have got your tiki torches stuffed up your ass. Revenge of the nerd protesters. Eat some pizza, take a few bong rips. Don't you got a toga party to go to? It's Friday night. Try to get to second base with a girl, you loser. Talking about white lives matter, white lives matter. Throwing up Nazi salutes. Dorm room dumb.
And again, I didn't think much about it. Like, there's no way, I have no understanding of what's going to hit, what's not going to hit, what's going to be viral, what's going to sort of catch on. And I wish I did know how to do that. But I was walking my dog on a Saturday morning after that had happened in Charlotte, and I said some things about that. And then that was sort of the world's, or people that didn't follow me as closely, sort of introduction into my point of view on a lot of things. And then since then, I've gotten more attention and honestly a responsibility to say something. I feel like it's my responsibility. I wish other actors and other people's with platforms said things, but they could take on or not take on the responsibility they want. For me, it feels like a responsibility, just being responsible. Like, when you cross the street, you must look both ways to not hurt yourself, being a responsible adult. Just like if you have a dog, you have clean up the dog's dog, or when you leave your house, you lock the door. And being a responsible person, for me, or being a responsible person and being a responsible Jewish man, I must say something, and I don't think twice about saying something when I feel like, particularly, I feel like there's something wrong. I've spoken out on plenty of other things, whether it be LGBTQ, abortion, George Floyd, and all that. But when it comes to being Jewish, which particularly affects me and my family and my people and our people, and the another group of oppressed, sort of pushed around people, I must say something.
So going off of the social media thing, I've been following you for a while, so I've been seeing you post about other, conflicts with Israel in the past, like 2021. This is unlike anything we've ever seen. And actually, I had a friend who was trying to follow you yesterday on Instagram, and it says that your account is posting false information. And I've been seeing your videos, and in the comments, and it's not just on yours, but just horrific comments everywhere. Did you ever think it was going to get this bad on social media?
Well, I'll say this in regards to the false information, that was before October 7th.
Really?
And I'm pretty sure that had to do with a Joe Biden video, which I don't understand how, I don't understand social media, but I will say that that note that everybody sees when they try to follow me about me, that was there before October 7th. So I can't blame
Thanks
that.
for clarifying.
I can't blame that on this conflict.
Mm-hmm.
As far as social media, I say, one of the things, listen, what happened in Israel is a historic atrocity, and it's shocking, and it's heartbreaking, and it's frustrating, and it's scary, and it's all these things. The response to October 7th is like a whole separate thing that I would say, as far as Jewish people and college kids, it's like a whole other thing. I was thinking about this morning. I was like, if you support Israel, fantastic. If you don't support Israel, disappointing. If you are pro-Palestine, cool. I can respect that. I don't have anything against. I want the people of Gaza and the people of anywhere to all thrive. I want peace and all that stuff. The thing that has made October 7th even more famous or infamous has been the response. Because on October 7th in the United States, October 8th in the United States, I could say specifically, the celebration, the celebrations that took place on October 7th and October 8th, definitely on October 8th. And then I think if we, look back, definitely October 7th, that has made it more inflamed. And that has been the more almost as offensive and as heartbreaking as October 7th, the act of what happened in Israel. The response is, it's not as bad, but it's like almost a separate thing. It's like, you're celebrating this. You are invigorated by this. Like that Cornell professor said, you're dancing in the streets about this. And that is what has sort of been the surprise. The antagonistic behavior from the quote unquote pro-Palestine community is what's made it, a whole other thing. Because there's been atrocities, there's been that's gone on throughout the world, but it's never been celebrated this sort of emphatically. The rape, the murder, the kidnapping, while the bodies are still being sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
Not the bodies are still warm. The bodies, we don't even know what happened, and you're celebrating this. That's what's been the surprise. The reaction on the college campuses, the ripping down the posters, the protesting the Israeli restaurants last night in Philadelphia. Goldie, you can't hide. We give you genocide. What the are you talking about? That has made it wilder and crazier and scarier and even more upsetting, and I don't know, I hope I'm making sense with that. I hope I'm making sense with that, because it's like what happened in Israel is one thing, and then the reaction has been another thing, and then the celebrating becomes, oh, ceasefire, you were celebrating before, and now Israel is responding, and now you're like ceasefire, and cool. Nobody wants to see any innocent people die. No normal, mentally stable person wants to see any people, die. Want to see any, civilians die. But when something, it's like actions beget actions, and when you kidnap, rape, and murder, everybody knows this. Like, what the did they think was going to happen? Yeah. And I think Hamas knew exactly what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Because we could say what we want about them, but they ain't stupid. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you guys a question. You guys are both Jewish?
Yeah.
So what has been the most sort of surprising, upsetting thing that you guys have experienced, heard about on your college campus? What college you guys go to?
University of Florida.
University of Florida. So we should contextualize this. We should tell your audience. Yeah. That you guys, you guys reached out to me on social media. Did I meet you guys in DC, or you said you saw me in DC?
We saw you introduce the two Columbia students.
Okay. So just to tell your audience, these two guys, Ailey and Levi, reached out to me on Instagram. They told me about their podcast, and sight unseen, I said, all right, I'll be on your podcast.
Incredibly fast response. It was
Yeah.
incredible. I sent you the message before class, just, I was like, oh, maybe, why not? And then I had class and I look at my phone 40 minutes later and you were just like, hey, what's up? So it was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. We really, really appreciate it.
But as
No,
far
I
as
appreciate you guys. I appreciate, what you're doing. And, I wanted to support. But anyway, so back to my question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, what really upsets me the most is people like Jewish Voices for Peace. Who my roommate from last year is literally the president of Jewish for Voices of Peace at the University of Florida, and it's just really, I guess, heartbreaking because that kind of inflames more violence and hate against Israel and the Jewish people. They look at these people and are like, even Jews aren't supporting this, so we could even do this more, and it kind of invigorates them, and it really makes me really pissed off. And then when I try to argue, it's like it's impossible. And to me, that's what makes it even more frustrating because it causes more hate and more aggression towards the Jewish people. We just had our Chabad vandalized with you guys are gonna burn in hell, baby killers, like on our Chabad UF
and
sign.
And a call was made.
Yeah,
like
and a call was made to the UF Hillel. I think it was a shooting threat. So it's just really, that's what really pisses me off the most.
Of course, I agree with those. It's everywhere with the poster rip downs, but I joined like a group putting up the posters, and like it would always be a message the next day in the WhatsApp, like, come on, we have to put them back up. Like everyone ripped them down. For me, it's also been really tough being in the journalism world as far as like a lack of compassion. I don't know if I can say this but basically, it was October 9th and I come into class, like 2 days after, and like I was interested in writing something about what was going on. We were having a vigil.
Yeah.
And I go outside after class to meet with the professors, and one is like, Levi, how was your weekend? And this was like October 9th. And I go, I was being generous. I was like, wasn't so good, and he's like, oh, like what's going on in Israel is really like bad. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty bad. And then he's like, at least we had the homecoming parade. And that was crazy for me. And it kind of, a few things like that kind of led me to like, it made me hard to do any news coverage of the situation because it's like, it's just hard for me to write things like that.
Yeah.
The emotions were overpowering, but then we came together and decided to do this podcast. So, yeah.
Have you guys felt uncomfortable on your campus at all? Like physically uncomfortable? Like, is there any of that we're seeing, like, in the social media, like where there's like, people confronting you face to face?
No, I mean, I wear a kippah sometimes around campus, like when I'm going to Chabad events or just walking around, I'll wear a kippah sometimes. Like I really don't feel too comfortable. There's things here and there that kind of get me upset, but overall I feel pretty comfortable.
Definitely. I mean, what we're seeing on the like Ivy League, like Penn, those places, it's just on a completely different level.
Yeah.
Than what we're
Really
doing
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sure.
What has been the for you guys? How old are you guys?
20.
I'm 21.
What has been the sort of most common argument? It's so crazy because what has been the sort of most common argument or sort of thing that you've heard that's been frustrating to you guys?
That that first of all, that Israel is a genocidal terrorist apartheid
So
state,
stupid, so stupid.
It's ridiculous. And that's, another thing that like Jews should go find another place to live or that, saying, from the river to the sea, and people like just saying it blindly and saying all these trigger words without even having any connection with the land or with the conflict. And they're just piggybacking off of these tropes. And that's what really pisses me off. This blind following it. It's really horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot pisses me off. I mean, like calling for an intifada in the streets, it's just like, are you insane?
Yeah.
Like, it's just ridiculous.
And then that's what I'm saying. So it's like, I'm protest, all that, but when you start like physically making people uncomfortable and you start threatening and all that, that's when it becomes it's just anything. It just becomes a different level. It's like, Kyle Rittenhouse. It's like you could protest all you want, Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, all that. But when you start taking it to another level, that's when it's like, people aren't comfortable with it. The poster ripping down, it's disrespectful, it's stupid. And I hate to use the word stupid, but it literally is. It's either you're uneducated, mentally ill, or you're blatantly being disrespectful. I mean, I don't think is there, or D would be all of the above.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the poster ripping down isn't hurting anybody. It hurts your feelings because you're like, what the f? But it isn't physically hurting anybody. It's when you're physically confronting people and you're physically getting in people's faces, because that's when it's like you're getting into a different level of things, just like with Kyle Rittenhouse. It's like, and I don't know. It's just, it's been really crazy. It's like every day there's something new. Every day it's just a really a crazy situation. It's just a crazy situation.
Yeah, and the kind of like the blatant lies too, and they're kind of finding ways to show that maybe IDF was responsible for what happened and all these other things. It's really
right. Well, now we're at the atrocity denial stage of things.
Yeah,
2 months.
I want to ask, because you kind of touched on this, but you were such a stark defender of the Black Lives Matter movement, LGBTQ plus issues, and so now when all this is going on, and when people and celebrities, like for example, like John Cusack, I know you were kind of feuding with him over social media, and they're not really doing the same thing for yourself, for us, we're all Jewish, and for issues that really affect us a lot, does that deflate you at all? Does that invigorate you? I mean, how do you feel with that?
It invigorates me. It invigorates me. It's disappointing. It's disappointing that Jewish celebrities, Jewish voices, Jewish, whatever the you want to call them, influencers. I hate that word because but Jewish, just say celebrities of all, shapes, sizes, whatever platforms they are, musicians, that they're not saying anything. But people have a right to do what they want to do, however they want to do it. Just because you might not be saying something publicly doesn't mean you're not feeling it. But a lot of people, a lot of Jewish people, have said a lot of things about a lot of different causes, and when they're not saying anything about our own cause, I think that is whack. I have really, really, really made a promise to myself, particularly now and going forward, to not specifically call out any other Jewish people, even though I have, specific feelings about specific ones and disappointed. But that's just my own sort of, thing that I'm trying to, to do.
Like your personal note, kind of like you see these people and you make like a personal note in your mind.
I make a personal note, but I'm not going to go, like Jane Doe and John Doe, where the f are you guys? I know who they are, and they know who they are, and then like DC, you guys were at the march for Israel in DC. And, I was happy and I was so glad to speak for a short period of time. But there's a lot bigger voices, a lot more popular voices, a lot more well-known voices than Michael Rapaport. And that's just a fact, there's plenty of other people that could have been down there also in terms of celebrities. There's politicians that were down there, and there's activists that were down there, and that's all good too. But when it comes to the celebrity part, because celebrity carries a lot of, it gets, eyes and all that. And there it should have been other actors up there. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't have just been, myself and Deborah Messing. There's a lot of big heavyweight Jewish, famous people, musicians, and such that could have also been down there. And they don't have to be as politically or as, as sort of vehement as I am. They could have just shown up, said what's up, and sang a song. When talk to the people for 2 or 3 minutes, it goes a long way. That being said, people have to, people make the choices they want to, make, and they have to live with those choices, but when the next movie role or TV role comes up for those people, don't Jew it up when it's time to be funny, when you got nothing to say, when the chips are down.
Yeah. Well, we kind of the question we wanted to ask, which kind of about going back, March for Israel, you were there. We saw the interview with you on YNet where you said you were planning to make a visit to Israel within the next.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was clear. Have you been before or no?
No, but I'm hopefully everything goes right. I'm going Monday.
Oh, Monday.
Wow. Yeah.
What plans do you have?
Are you planning with meeting with soldiers, victims, the people who are kidnapped, families of the people who are kidnapped? What are your plans when you're there?
I have a whole itinerary, and it's very robust, and I am really, 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 really looking forward to going and meeting and talking and seeing and observing and being as much as I possibly can. And I just cannot wait. And I'm just really, 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 really looking forward to it. And I know it's going to be, very emotional. I know it's going to be very exciting. I know it's going to be very, I know it's just going to be an emotional, trip. And I'm looking forward to it. So flight is booked and all that stuff for in a couple of days.
Wow, that's really awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
That's great. Well, there's a whole list of questions that I have that we both have for you. I actually have a class in like 15 minutes, so I do want to
go ahead, Deuce. If you got a few more, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just God, I don't even know where to start. I mean, the one question that I kind of have left for you is it's a little bit of like a fun one, but you also said in your YNet interview you were gonna tour the Hasidic neighborhood in New York. Did you do that? And
yes,
how did that
I
go?
didn't get to do that yet because my rabbi, the rabbi that was giving me the tour, he actually went to Israel, so he's in Israel now. But we're doing that, and that's I'm looking forward to that because being in New York and Brooklyn and the Hasidic neighborhood, I grew up here, and you're always sort of around it, in it. You walk through it, drive past it, but I've never gotten a tour of the sort of ins and outs of it. And when I was offered that, I was like, that's crazy. I grew up in New York my whole life, and you just kind of like, it's just, it's like Little Italy. Okay, Little, or Chinatown, but to get a tour of it and, sort of from somebody who, is in it, I think will be really cool, especially as a New Yorker, sort of learning about a little sort of a part of New York that, you don't pay attention to that much. Yeah. And there's so many stereotypes about it.
Oh, absolutely. And which one specifically were you going to like? I know there's like New Square, there's like the Satmar area. Kind of those are ones that are more in like Muncie. I mean, which ones were you going to visit?
Somewhere in Williamsburg, but I'm not sure yet. I didn't take the tour yet, but okay. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting thing, but I'm definitely absolutely going to do that.
That's awesome.
I've been thinking about that too lately. So I grew up in New York City too. On the west side, and I never went to those neighborhoods when I grew up there.
Yeah.
So the next time you don't think much about it, right? It's just kind of like it's there, and you walk, it's just a cool thing, I think.
It's funny for me because that was one of the first things I did when I went there, because I went to a religious Jewish school in high school, to like a yeshiva, and so we went there for our graduation trip, and we specifically went to those communities. So I think that's like the parallels I think are really, really interesting when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think I definitely think it's interesting. And then, and it's like I said, at the beginning when I was talking about, my consciousness and appreciation and understanding of being Jewish and, because of everything, that's been going on, recently and in the last few years, I think I really will appreciate it. Where are you from you're from the west side of Manhattan?
Yeah, like 107th Street is where I grew up.
107th and what?
And between Broadway and Amsterdam.
Nice.
Like by the park, what's it called? Strauss Park, if you know where that is.
Yeah. And Riverside Park over there.
Yeah, exactly. Riverside Park, underrated park. Like people
totally underrated park.
Have you been to Riverside Park?
I've never been to Riverside Park.
Very underrated park.
All right. Well, I'll check it out next time I'm in New York.
Yeah. If you're going to Israel, you're going to be in Tel Aviv?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a restaurant recommendation for you. Jasmino. Please write it down.
Hold on.
Get a pen, please.
Can you email it to me? Can you email me the name?
Yeah, I'll email it to you after this.
Yeah, I would. Good. Why is it so good?
It's like a hole in the wall kebab place. Like there's like 4 things on the menu. Like all of them are the same price, but for me, it's one of the best meals I've ever had. I think about it all the time.
Done.
All right.
Well, Michael, we really appreciate talking to you. I sadly, like, I have to run. I have a class in like 10 minutes.
You have to go.
You have to go. You know, if you want to talk to Levi, I'll let you guys stay in the chat. But I sadly have to go. But I just want to say it's been an honor talking to you. I think for both of us, and we've been following you for a while, and we really appreciate all that you've been doing for the Jewish community and for Israel. So it really means a lot to us.
Well, I appreciate that you guys have started this podcast. I want to encourage you to keep going.
Thank you, man.
Keep doing your podcast. And obviously, you guys just started this, right?
Yeah.
Keep going and don't be afraid to, do episodes about, if there's whatever. I don't know anything about you two young guys, but whatever your interests are, I think it's important to have your voices. So I would give you a recommendation in terms of your podcast. Don't feel pigeonholed to make it about any one particular thing.
Yeah,
but I think it's
that. Yeah, like we started it for this reason, but we would like to talk about other things down the road.
Yeah,
just, you should. You should. You don't even have. It doesn't even have to be down the road. Keep doing your thing, and podcasts. The beauty of it is there's no rules and regulations. So I encourage you to keep going and just whatever you're into. I don't know. It could be movies, film, science, whatever the hell you're into. You could have all that stuff in there. It's coming from your point of view, and I'm really glad that I got to do the episode and continue doing your thing and stay in touch with me. And I wish you nothing but the best in real life and nothing but the best with this podcast. And tell everybody down there in the community, in your Jewish community, I send nothing but strength. And tell everybody to keep their head up. And to be prideful and and have a great rest of 2023, and to your families.
Thank you so much, and the same for you as well.
All right, you guys.
All right,
I appreciate it, fellas.
All right, have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Bye.
All right, guys, that was our interview with Michael Rapaport. We want to thank him again for joining us. Levi, I mean, what do you think? He was what an interview. What a guy.
I didn't know what he was gonna be like in one-on-one, because I watch all of his videos where he's just screaming at his face at the camera, and it was exactly like that. And we're only releasing the audio for this, but like when we did the video, like on the Zoom meeting, like he was getting all animated and everything,
and it was great.
It was great.
We love that.
And it was crazy that we caught him at a time where he's going to be traveling to Israel next Monday.
He said Monday, but Monday's
I think
next Monday. Sorry. As we're recording this right now. Today is Monday, December 4th.
I would hope he meant next Monday.
Yeah, I think that's what he probably meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. He's also going to Israel during Hanukkah time.
Yeah.
Hanukkah in Israel.
I didn't realize that
the
until...
Sufgan Yot.
I've never been. I've never been during Hanukkah.
Me neither. I've never been.
Right.
But so funny thing is in high school we had like weekly Musser schmoozes. So Musser is like inspirational type of thing, like an inspirational type of talk based on like the Torah and whatever. So one of my rabbis, I love this guy so much. His name is Rabbi Goldman. Not the same Rabbi Goldman here at Chabad.
Okay.
A different Rabbi Goldman. He said every year millions and millions and millions of donuts are eaten in Israel every Hanukkah. And I was like, yo, this is great. Anyways.
Like a great family childhood memory of Hanukkah.
Yeah, 100%. But anyways, going back to the interview with Michael Rapaport, so what an amazing guy, and he's just such a nice guy, and he's someone who you could tell just genuinely cares about humanity, about the Jewish people.
About everyone. I mean, you heard him talking about how he's been speaking up for years.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said like humanity.
Yeah.
He's a big backer of the Black Lives Matter movement, LGBTQ plus issues, women's rights, everything like that. And that's what he's been advocating for years. And then when something like this happens where he needs support, all of our fellow Jews need support for this. It's deflating and it's infuriating that we don't get the same support back. I mean, Jewish people have been advocates of human rights and civil rights for as long as we can remember, because our ancestry, that's just what happened to us. We've been persecuted forever, and we don't want that to happen to other people. So, I mean, that's what I just took for it. Like, it just seeing how much he cares about humanity and about causes that are so important. It really struck to me. Like, he seems like such like an against the grain. He's such a passionate, fiery guy.
Yeah.
But he's passionate for the right purposes, and I love that.
100%, I agree, and it was great to talk to him about New York for a little bit. Wish I could have talked to him for longer, definitely, but maybe down the road. And I gave him my favorite restaurant recommendation, which you need to go to next time you go to Israel.
What's it called again?
It's called Jasmino.
Well,
yeah. Oh my God, it's crazy. So I hope he has a fun time there.
If he's there, he better shout us out. He better go on Instagram Live or something.
I mean, if he's
shout
going,
out Levi
if he's going to
Jasmino,
he better say who sent him there.
But he better like it though, because like if he goes and it's horrible and the food's not good,
he's still probably gonna pretend that he liked it. He's gonna tell me he's gonna be like,
he's a very truthful guy.
He could just be like, that was trash. But I don't think anyone could go to Jasmino and not like it. So that's just what I say about that.
I gotta go there next time I'm in Israel.
Yeah,
I want to go back.
Yeah.
So we talked about this a little bit on in the interview, but we could go more into detail about I think it was like right before we came back for winter break, the Chabad at the University of Florida, their signs were vandalized by he was kind of, I think they caught him. They caught the guy. His name is Jeffrey Lush. He's about 50 years old. He's in jail, thank God, because it's a hate crime. And
because he also called in a threat.
So he did two things. Yeah. One, he went over to the Chabad house and he spray painted or wrote on the signs "Burn in hell. You guys are child murderers."
The usual fun stuff.
We love talking about that stuff. Anyways, yeah, and he called it what you said. He called in to, I think it was Hillel.
Yeah. So he was covering all of the synagogues. Yeah. All of the places.
He was threatening a mass shooting at Hillel. I mean, yeah, that's a hate crime, and that's. Yeah. I hope he's going to be locked up for a good while. That was really, I was really upset. I was really upset at that. Because I do not want our university to turn into a Columbia, Harvard, whatever. That's not happening on my watch, and I hope it's not happening on your watch too.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening on our watch.
No, here to all of our University of Florida listeners right now, the University of Florida will not, and I repeat, will not turn into a Harvard, Columbia, Princeton, whatever. That's not happening here, and we're going to make sure of it, and we're not going to stand for this.
And we need to reach out and have someone from one of those universities on our podcast. I think that's something I need to work on.
I personally don't know too many people on those campuses. I think Brandeis, I could get some I think Brandeis is having some issues right now. I'm sure I could find somebody.
Okay.
I'm sure I could find somebody. And if you guys know anybody, please reach out to us. Contact us on our DMs, either me or Levi, and we'd love to set up an interview with them down the road, because that would be great. That would be amazing.
We're always looking for different guests.
Yeah.
So please.
Whether if you're listening, if you're one of the speakers from Washington D.C., or maybe you know one of them, or you know any other people who would love to talk to us about it, please get in contact with us. Levi, another amazing episode. Again, thank you so much for getting that interview.
Yeah, of course.
Trooper right here. We've got a lot of amazing interviews down the road. We're talking to people. If you have any suggestions for people that we should reach out to, or if you know somebody who we want to connect us with, please reach out.
Let us know.
We want to talk to you. We want this podcast again to be interactive. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye.